percent
is that they've given tax cuts to absolutely the richest in the country at the same time where they've told the poorest people in this country over the past... It is true. At the same time that you've told the people in this country over the last 6 years, we've got to cut our coffee... No, let me finish this point because you've interrupted me and I want to make this point. It's really serious to people in this country that you've told people we've got to live within our means. We've got to have this austerity. We've got to cut. You've cut. And do you know what? Debt's rising and the amount of money that's going into the economy, you know, you've not made it better. Our economy is worse as a result of 6 years of austerity. And now you're saying all of a sudden we can spend money.
No, hold on. By
Such
changing the
a prominent
corporation tax and changing the capital gains tax
Well,
to raise more money.
You don't cut taxes when you need that
How
money
much?
to help. You should be investing.
You don't know, do you?
You should be investing
You just
in those
don't know,
services.
do you?
No, Andrew, I'm talking about investment with the money we've currently got. At the moment, the government are not investing that money in our communities, in our areas where it's required. They're spending, they're cutting tax for those that are the richest and they're spending money in the wrong places.
I'll give you, because I'm lost.
Angela is certainly right.
Services and
So
home
can I
care
bring you back to
services.
my question? What would Labour do?
Well, we've already talked about, I mean, some of the taxation decisions that the government have made around inheritance tax, capital gains tax, corporation tax, where you've given away money. This is what Jeremy was talking about in Prime Minister's question today. You've given away money that actually, quite frankly, we need to spend. And it's not just about an ageing population. That is phony. People know about the ageing population for some time. We've cut the criteria so people can't get community care. We treat our older people at the moment like dogs. It's a disgrace. We shouldn't do that.
But, excuse me.
Have you ever watched a political interview that left you completely speechless? Not because of what the interviewer said, but because the person being questioned couldn't answer even the most basic things. That's exactly what happened when Angela Rayner, the deputy leader of the Labour Party, sat down with Andrew Neil, one of the UK's toughest and most relentless political interviewers. What should have been a perfect chance for Labour to show its strength and vision for Britain's future quickly turned into something else. What we saw wasn't leadership. It wasn't clarity. It was a slow, uncomfortable collapse, a moment where a senior political figure simply couldn't give the answers that voters expect and deserve. Angela Rayner entered that interview with confidence. She carried the hopes of millions of Labour supporters, especially those desperate for change after more than a decade under Conservative rule. But within minutes, that confidence began to fade. Andrew Neil asked a direct, simple question, one any senior Labour politician should have been ready for: would Labour reverse the cuts to corporation tax? This wasn't a trick. It wasn't a trap. It was a straightforward question about a major economic policy. And yet, the response was far from what anyone was hoping for from a leader. British politics. Like this one, don't forget to like the video. And subscribe to Dark British. Believe it or not, over 98% of viewers watch our content without hitting the follow button. Subscribing is completely free.
Should be investing and putting the money in the primary care
Would you
services.
reverse the cuts on corporation tax?
I think that the cuts on corporation tax are missing a point because we need that money. We need
So
that money
you
at the moment.
would you reverse
that.
it? Hold on.
Inheritance tax.
Would you reverse them?
I think that at the moment, cutting at a time where we need those services and people need those services is the wrong decision to
But
make.
I'm asking you, would you reverse the cut in corporation tax?
But I'm telling you, Andrew, that our priority is
You're not telling me the question.
I am.
The
I'm
answer.
saying that the cuts in corporation tax, the cuts in inheritance tax, the cuts in capital gains tax.
But
has
where was
meant
what's the
we've
cut in
heard
capital
from-
gains tax?
But what's really important, Andrew...
No, excuse me, I'm asking you a question. What's the cut in the capital gains tax?
They've cut the capital gains tax. They did that. They did that as part of the coalition government.
No,
they raised
the capital gains tax in the coalition government.
Well, what I'm saying, Andrew, and
what you're saying is wrong. They raised the capital gains tax to 28.
But emotion alone isn't enough. Voters don't just want to hear that something is broken, they want to know how you're going to fix it. They want details. Where will the money come from? How much will be invested? What specific policies will actually change the system? Rayner didn't give those answers. She was right to call out the disgrace in how we treat our elderly, but she couldn't explain how Labour would solve it. And in politics, when you shine a light on a problem, you need to bring a solution too. Without that, even the most heartfelt emotion starts to feel empty. Then came what many saw as the biggest policy failure of the night, Labour's housing plan. On paper, it sounds bold and inspiring. Labour has promised to build 1.5 million homes. It's a headline-grabbing figure.
You're just off now. Let me bring you back to the question. Look, you think there may be an election coming up, so you need to get your policies right. What would the capital gains tax be under a Labour government, and how much would that raise compared to now?
But I've told you, Andrew, what our priority is. It's about how we invest in our public services.
No, I'm asking you how you would raise the money. Now, how much money would you recoup?
Cut those taxes.
Excuse me, it's important you answer the questions because you want people's votes. How much extra money would you raise by changing the current corporation tax and capital gains tax structures?
But Andrew, we've talked about in absolute detail about the current tax system, and we said actually that the money that the decisions that the government have made and the decisions on where they're spending current money is completely inappropriate.
So how much would you save?
You've cut 50%. In my constituency, both of my councils have seen over 50% cuts to their budget. No. So all of the people that need support are in acute services now, crippling our NHS.
So you would be able to give them more money.
But instead of giving a clear stance, Angela Rayner replied with broad, vague lines about Labour's priorities and values. There was no detail, no solid policy, no real vision, just noise. Sensing the weakness, Andrew Neil did what he does best. He pressed harder. What about inheritance tax? What about capital gains tax? He asked again. Rayner struggled. She dodged. She deflected. She tried to shift the conversation by attacking the Conservatives, accusing them of giving tax breaks to the rich. But Neil, always armed with facts, quickly corrected her, pointing out that capital gains tax had actually been raised, not cut. In that moment, Rayner was exposed, because when facts collide with political slogans, facts almost always win. And that's why this moment matters. We're not talking about some obscure detail. Taxes like corporation tax, capital gains tax, and inheritance tax are the backbone of how any government pays for the NHS, education, policing, infrastructure, and so much more. So when a senior Labour figure can't clearly explain her party's position on them, it raises a deeper question. Is Labour really ready to govern? But the interview didn't just stumble on economics. It turned even more emotional when the discussion moved to one of Britain's most painful issues, our broken social care system. With visible anger and emotion, Rayner declared, "We treat our older people like dogs. It's a disgrace." And in that moment, you could feel her passion. She wasn't wrong. Britain's social care system is in crisis. Too many elderly people are left without dignity, respect, or the support they deserve in the final years of life. It was the first time in the interview where her words truly connected, raw, real, and heartfelt. And still, Rayner wouldn't answer. The interview didn't feel like a debate anymore, it felt like a collapse. And the public noticed. Within hours, social media was on fire. Commentators, journalists, and ordinary voters were stunned. One tweet summed it up perfectly: if Rayner can't answer basic economic questions, how can we trust Labour to run the country? This wasn't just a weak performance. It was a moment of reckoning. People began questioning whether Labour, under its current leadership, truly has the depth and clarity needed to guide Britain through the storm ahead. This wasn't just about Angela Rayner having an off day. It was about what Labour actually stands for, and whether a party that struggles to explain its own policies can really be trusted to govern. Because let's be honest, the UK is in a fragile state.